Now I'm recording on Zoom, which I didn't have before.
Wah,
Okay,
wah.
and there we go. All right, so we're recording on Zoom, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this or not, but we thought maybe kick this off with a little. You hear that?
Hey!
Oh, it's coming through now. We couldn't get to work
Thanks,
before.
guys.
I'm doing
Hey.
Yeah.
forward and then back.
By the way, our tag says Riverdale Y instead of the values because that's the Zoom account that we use to teach some music lessons that we do on the side.
Oh, hey, so you
That's
got
why
that
it's
explains
you
it
got shit
then.
going on. Right,
Yeah.
so
So
every-
breaking the values teach music lessons during quarantine.
which, by the way, guys, this is who this is. Mason Taub, Zwisler from The Values, a favorite local band of ours. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Your background is infinitely cooler than my background. And James,
Yeah, we wanted to show you our workspace actually.
Very
You
So we
cool.
put
Yeah.
things around for you.
oh, you did an awesome job, guys. I just have a refrigerator because that's
Yeah.
there's light.
Ooh, yeah, that's going to come out real good on the recording.
Yeah, some sound makers there. Nice.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
there's
was
gonna be a
actu-
lot of people listening to it, super confused, and they're gonna watch this video and like, oh, that's what that was. Okay.
That was a shaker.
Yeah, we say a lot of
The
people.
one thing that I was going to bring to this was my values T-shirt, but James was like, "Well, that's like wearing your band T-shirt to go see the band." So
I used to
don't
be
think
that guy
that's
too.
uncool. I don't know about you, Evan, but I think that's okay if you, because we love music. We're big fans of anyone we go see. So I'm not trying to be cool at my favorite band's concert.
well, also, I spilled bourbon on it, so it has a brown stain. I've worn it like I love the shirt so much that I'd worn it 3 times before washing it. The first time I spilled booze on it was tequila, and I was like, "That's clear liquor, it's fine." But then I got the bourbon on it the other night. I was like, "I guess it's time to wash my value shirt." I love this shirt so much. It has the color really suits me. It just pops.
Yeah.
I don't buy band T-shirts a whole lot, but I got to tell you, like that one, really nice, really nicely done, nice design.
And the artist, just a quick shout out to the artist who did that work is Caroline Corbett, who
oh, okay.
I think she works out of Philly, right? Yeah, it's Philly artist. She's really great. You can go look her up online.
Yeah, and
She moved.
if you if later when you email us, if you send us a link, though, we can include that in our show notes, just so people like, hey, where'd you get that? Here's what you
Totally.
here's what
That's
you
the
get
one.
that. So anyway, James, tell the values how we found them and why we love them.
Accidentally, we came to see The Living Strange because we'd seen them a bunch of times. We kind of know them a little bit, and
Love them.
it was Gray Hunter, you, Living Strange.
Yeah.
That was at Knitting Factory. So that was the first time we caught you.
Yeah.
And we had chatted. I think one of us, I think Mar had sent you a message over Instagram. It was just like, yeah, we really loved you guys. And you responded, which is very, very nice of you. And we got to hang out with you guys again at the Union Pool Show. Right,
Yep.
Mar?
Really
Was
fun.
that one in like
Pretty much
February?
guarantee
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
you don't, as long as you don't send like a really creepy message over Facebook, like asking to see Mason's feet or
Some
something,
feet.
Does that happen?
We'll definitely respond to you. We
Hasn't
always-
happened, but other things have.
What about your feet, not Mason's? Is that on the table?
They're great.
There
Oh, wow,
you go.
Euclid-y.
You don't even have to formally ask. You just be like, here they are.
Go for it. Hey. Oh,
Here,
guys,
that's
Just
so-
ask nicely.
This is fun.
That's
Okay,
that's
good,
like
good.
Bruce Willis doing an ass shot. Like you don't even have to complete the sentence. Like Bruce Willis, will you show your yes?
Yes. My
Can't
favorite
believe it.
ass shot is in
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Is that
with
Swayze?
Patrick
Nice.
Swayze,
Swayze.
Because there's a scene where he's obviously been waiting with his pants down.
Are you gonna give us a
No,
little
no, no,
reenactment?
No, not that's for the premium users.
Yeah, I was about to say that's for the OnlyFans.
We have an OnlyFans now.
Yeah.
And,
for our
so the camera
sexier-
moves. Sorry, go
Oh
on.
my god. So how are you guys doing in general? Like how's it
Good.
going?
Good. We're fine. We're fine. All of our people are healthy. Even those are, we obviously have friends who've gotten sick, but everybody's okay. Our family's okay. We're very lucky to be able to stay at home and stay safe and have music and stuff to work on to keep us sane too. I think we're some of the luckiest people right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
you
trying
guys-
to actively, tap into that gratitude every day.
Yeah. We're not
You
like-
seem well. I love your shirts, by the way.
Thank you.
Both
We
of them.
decided
My
to.
little
That's a whole
jump
Messed up a
thing.
little bit,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh wow. See, all I did was wear a shirt with bunnies. I thought
Ooh, but
Uh,
they're cool bunnies.
I
Yeah.
feel like we've been really lucky. It's been pretty easy for us because we're not like, luckily we don't live with roommates who we like barely tolerate, and we have to be stuck in a house with people.
Yeah, it's just the two of us and our dog.
And we're not like those fucking psychos who went home to like live with their parents, which is fine. It's fine if
that's what you want to do.
You could have written yet another article called for the New Yorker called "Why I Left New York." Right? Lots of those.
New York is because you're fucking.
Well, Evan's been saying that he feels like now he's finally a real New Yorker.
Yeah.
I'm a native, and he's from out of the country.
Yeah,
Where are you from?
I went to college in California, and then I grew up in China, actually. So I spent the first 18 years of my life in China.
Two totally different countries from New York. So yeah,
exactly. But
wow.
it's funny because it's like I feel like I feel like I've never like called myself a New Yorker. I've never been one of those guys where I'm like, okay, now I'm a New Yorker kind of guy. Now I'm a New Yorker.
That's New York.
That's New York. But now I feel like I finally have earned that right because it's like I stayed through Corona. So like, now I'm a real New Yorker. I'm gonna talk tons of shit on everyone who left. I'm gonna say that my bacon, egg, and cheese place is the best bacon.
You moved here right around the time Sandy happened, right?
Yeah, I moved here like 2012.
So you were here for Sandy too.
Yeah, I was here for Sandy.
There you go.
Too.
Okay, so that's two tragedies then.
You really,
so yeah, total New
once
Yorker
you've gone
move.
through
yeah,
a
if you got through one or two,
City,
then you're New York now.
Exactly.
Like I remember when I moved here, which was a very long time ago, and it was like a very long time ago, and I was like, I'm in there for 6 months, and then 9/11 happened, and I was like, okay, now
Yeah.
Now I am. But it took 9/11 for me to really like get that. But speaking of which, okay, so you're you're from China, you were in California, you came to New York. I assume that's how you guys met. Like how did you guys meet? Like what and you formed a band? Were you musicians before? Or was it like a Matt and Kim thing? We're like, let's form a band now.
2 days before the Values Ever first real live show. I was not in the band yet. And he invited me to the show.
Yeah, well, I'd seen we both were nannies at the time, and I'd seen Mason at Pickup
for kids who went to the same school.
So you already had this band going, Evan, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it was like
very different version of what we do now.
We've gone through a bunch of different iterations, and if like social media wasn't like if I didn't have to give up like thousands of followers and stuff, we would have changed the name. Plus, the name is like a very good. Solid name, you know.
I wouldn't change the name. It's a good name, yeah.
Yeah, we're not like the cum dumpsters or like the ass farters.
Starfucker.
Yeah, Starfucker.
It's a wholesome name.
Yeah, I hope that we're going for the MA, baby.
Yeah.
But but I saw Mason at Pickup, and I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. Aww. I was absolutely stunned. And then I didn't talk to her the first time. So the next time I saw her, I was like, okay.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, she doesn't remember me. That's fine. I had a beard.
I'm sorry, so was it the Pickup?
At like where the kids get picked up.
Oh,
like
okay.
Outside where the kids come
we're
out.
all like the nannies and the parents will pick
up.
I
see what you're saying. Okay.
Elementary school.
Yeah.
After school.
And I just remember being like, I have to say something. And my feet must have, destiny was in my shoes because before I knew what I was even going to say, I was in front of her and I was like, oh, is this where the kids get picked up? And I'd been picking up kids at this place for like 6 months.
You knew.
At this point. Like I knew. And then we started working together. Or we started dating. We started dating first. Yeah. And I was very worried about having her start doing music with us because I'm very difficult I can be very difficult to work with.
Like James Murphy difficult?
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't hesitate for a second. She's like, yes, very James Murphy vibes. Yes.
Yeah. But then and then Mason eventually joined, and I think from the time when you first joined to now, I think there's been like 15 other people in the band, something like that.
At any given.
Just like how many people have kind of come and gone, and now it's just really a kind of a total collaboration. Even though Mason's kind of takes more of the reins on like the lyrics and like the sort of like I guess you could say content, artist, and sort of direction.
But it is, I mean, you know, we divvy things up pretty evenly. We approve each other's moves and whatever. Like Evan makes our lights, and you can see.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's all you then.
You see, we have a lot of the same colored lights in our home, just because we like colors and fun lights.
On that topic, I wanted to ask you about that. That was the first thing, obviously, I noticed about you guys because you hadn't started playing yet. Was your really unique light setup? Like, where did that come from, and how long does that take to do? I mean, it's really really cool. For people who don't know, it's like these light bulbs that. Will you explain it?
Yeah.
We have a couple different types of bulbs that we put up on stage.
Yeah, basically I've used like PVC pipe and light bulbs and like foot switches to like be able to like live trigger a light show that we can kind of bring and put it on stage with us.
It's truly like a truly DIY lighting setup.
Mhm.
We're going to get into automating it more. In fact, that's part of our goal in quarantine is to be working on automating the lights more. But
Smart.
it is kind of, I've always thought it was pretty cool how you do it fully DIY.
Yeah, I use foot switches to kind of turn them on and off, and I have like different colored lights, and I have sort of faders that I've wired in. And I have like no electrical training or anything, so
Are
it's
you an
always like
electrician? Okay.
no. And it definitely shows because I've definitely been setting up and like plug something in the wrong way, and it's just like sparks
Just hear a
fly.
pop.
There's
Yeah.
one or two electrocutions.
Oh, I get electrocuted like
Yeah.
pretty regularly. Yeah, but that's fine. But I guess it came about because I mean, like I think one of the let me sit up straight so I look extra cool and extra handsome. I think one of the things that we kind of like one of the philosophies of our band is like don't waste the audience's time. Or if someone's gonna like, there's a million things to do in New York and in general, and there's you know so many other people. Like, how are you gonna stand out? What is gonna make you excellent? What's gonna make you worthy of people's time? And I kind of feel like that's sort of, you know, it's still what we're thinking about today, especially in quarantine.
Totally.
But so I guess that's what like the lights come from is sort of like this approach where you kind of take a look at your live set, your live show, and you're like, what can make this better? And you go and you see professional bands, and if you want to be considered, I always felt if we want to be compared to bands like Sylvan SO or LCD Sound System, we need to hold ourselves to the same standard. And if you were to go see LCD Sound System and they just had,
they have great lights.
And if they just had a really like basic light show or no light show, you'd feel, I think, a little bit disappointed. And I think that it's important for us to hold us to that same standard.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
funny
good
that
mindset. Yeah.
it's funny that you say that about the about how you feel like, hey, people came here for a reason, and we want to give them a good show. Because when we were talking to Eli Sokolow of Living Strange a few weeks ago, and
Love you, Eli.
He literally said the exact same thing about how he's like, there are so many options. Like, what do we have to do to stand out? Because when we came to that show where we first saw you, we had James and I had come off on the heels of another show in Brooklyn that was truly terrible. I think a man was playing a lunchbox, and another man told us to shut up, or whatever. It was just like, should we even be here?
No. You're thinking two separate
two
ones.
different
but
shows.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so but all
yes,
of that
two
happened.
separate times, and it was about a week and a half, and then your show, the Union Pool
And I was
show,
like, what a
or no,
breath
the
of
Living
fresh air.
Strange one was in the middle.
There's always those New York nightlife horror stories. I broke my teeth at a show in New York.
Really?
My two top teeth got broken in half at a show at the Gutter.
Pretty rock and roll.
It was a Fruit and Flowers show. Shout out to Fruit and Flowers, also a great New York band. And Caroline, the lead singer, she came out into the audience and started moshing, and other people started moshing. And this guy who was much bigger than me and very drunk and stoned, he was like pinballing himself across the room, like, and I had a glass in my hand. First mistake. I wasn't in the mosh pit, but don't get anywhere near a mosh pit with a drink in your hand.
Sure.
Yeah.
Stupid mistake. And this guy just like kind of backed up, lost his balance, backed up into me and smashed the glass into my two front teeth.
Oh, man.
Immediately broke off the bottoms of my two front teeth.
Oh, man. Wow.
And wasted alcohol,
Sounds like an
which
early,
is a shame.
yeah, sure.
And I was sober. I was pretty sober, but I flew into a rage that has not been matched since.
Yeah, you were really mad. She went over to this guy. I was with my other buddy David, who's a very the nicest guy.
Gentleman.
Yeah. And Mason's going to
You just seen a whole new side of Mason you ever seen before.
But you were fucking giving it to this guy.
I was shouting at him, "Do you see what you did?"
Yeah.
Well, it's more like, do you see what you did at that point? But
of course he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. And it's like, so David's like, should we get in the middle of that? I'm like, hey man, if you want to go, stop her. If you want to get in the middle of it, you go. I'm gonna fucking hurt what she needs to do right now.
What was he invoiced for the dental bill?
No.
I wish.
No, it's just like, I don't know. What you gonna fucking do? So nah, whatever.
But yeah, I'm glad that we did not give you a New York
No,
nightlife horror
it was
story.
such a great. It was such a great experience, and that's kind of like part of what we a big part of like how we kind of get into it with our interviews is like we like to refer, because obviously this was like a live show podcast, and we can't go to them right now. But so we kind of like to reminisce about great shows that we did go to. But so we have this little like mini segment we like to call like it was good for us, was it good for you too? We had a great time at your show. If you, James, you want to get into like our experiences seeing the Values live, because then I would love to hear what your feeling was when you were doing the shows that we saw.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay, so like I said, the first time we saw you was at the Knitting Factory. You were opening with Grey Hunter, you, Living Strange. So we're kind of going over something we talked about last time with Eli, but similar show. So what was that like? I mean, in our end, we had no idea what to expect. We don't really. I personally don't usually, if I don't know the opener, I kind of like to go in blind, because then you a lot of times you just get this great experience. You're like, oh, cool, now I know who this band is. So we didn't know what to expect, and we see you up there setting up these lights, and I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? What's happening? And you guys come on, and you have a very unique sound compared to everything else in the city right now. Cool light set up, honestly. Like there's a lot to be said about
Good
that.
Vibrations.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah. We're using that same sample from Good Vibration.
Oh yeah.
Good Vibration.
Do you know I saw him live in like 8th grade? I'm not even
Marky
kidding.
Mark.
Yeah, but he only stripped down to boxers. He didn't wear the tighty whities. I was very disappointed because that was a thing that he did. He took his
you should have
pants
gone
off.
for your money back after that.
I should have. A 12-year-old. I want to. Oh no, my mother would not like that. But anyway, how was that show for you? Was it good for you?
That was a really fun show. Grey Hunter and the Living Strange, there are a bunch of people that we've known for a really long time. We've known Eli from the Living Strange for 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. And we met him when he was 17. And he's like a baby.
Young he
is. Yeah, he just turned 21 when we talked to him.
And we met him when he was 17, so it was about 4 years ago. And then Grey Hunter is made up of all people that I either went to college with in New York, or the brother of one of our best friends who we lived with for a long time. So we know
you just know them.
Yeah, they're very much family. So like Living Strange and Grey Hunter, no brainer putting us all on a bill together, because we love hanging out, and I love a show that's really eclectic. I think you guys do too. Grey Hunter comes on with their like big Paramore energy, like kicking you in the teeth. Then we come on and we are just, I don't know. I mean, we're a bunch of lights,
dancing,
and
synth, yeah.
sound, and it kind of I think the darkness in the room and the lights also give people an opportunity to dance without feeling embarrassed too. So that's part of that too.
Well, they don't have a choice at certain points.
Well, that's true. The
oh God, I love that.
Almost mandatory dance.
I love that you force people to do that. It's my favorite thing.
You love that.
I love it so much.
Both times I've seen that song, I'm getting into it just fine, and then there's somebody fighting from the front to get past everybody.
Because it teaches us who can't hang. It teaches us who can't hang. It's not hard to do.
It's funny.
4 steps forward, 4 steps back.
It's funny because I think I'm always we only do it. Here's like a little secret: is we only do it when we know we have enough audience plants in the audience to make sure that it's gonna go. And because
no, that's not true. That's not true at all. We've done it on tour quite a bit.
I guess we have done it on tour
quite a bit.
Yeah, but
there's nobody there who knows us.
Yeah,
I mean, it's helpful to have. What we do with the backup singers during that song, because there's not a lot of backup vocals, is we have them lead the audience, and so that there's at least some movement in the crowd. But no, we get people who've never seen us before really excited to dance.
Yeah, but I'm always very nervous about it, because to me there's nothing more awkward in a performance when like the performer is like, come on, let's do a clap along, and it just fucking dies. I hate it.
As long as
I will never do, because it's like it's so awkward. It's so bad. So
we can hold you
do it on the road. I'm like, oh, is this gonna fucking crash and burn? You have to do it like later in the set, but not all the way at the end, so people still have a little bit of energy. They're still jazzed on you. But I think there's nothing more awkward than like when bands or musicians try to like spend like unearned audience credit, where like they're just fine and they're like, we're gonna do a stage dive, and you're like, fucking don't, please do not. So
we've all seen those bands before too, where they're like, open up the mosh pit, give me a reason to mosh, man. Like,
oh, I think you earned it. The second you busted out, like, I think we're alone now, it was very much earned. So I'm wondering, like, how big of a room do you think you could get away with that? Like, how big of an audience do you think
what's the biggest so far?
With?
I guess like what's Knitting Factory capacity? 250. Something like I think we've done it at Knitting Factory with a totally full room.
Okay,
So
that's
if you
pretty
can
impressive.
imagine the full room of Knitting
pretty
Factory,
tight.
everybody moving in one big
So good.
mass. Yeah.
It's so fantastic. Oh, and so okay, then the other one was the Union Pool show, Jane.
Union
So we
Pool,
were
Yeah.
Well,
So,
when
yeah.
we saw that, I had the names here. We actually came a little bit late, so we missed the end of Boom Bang, unfortunately.
Oh,
We only
yeah.
caught the end of them.
Yeah.
London Plane, though, we did get to see, and then you came on, and then we got to see Acapado afterwards. So do you guys have a relationship with them? Do you know them well, too?
We
Or is
know
this more
each
of
of
a-
them. Yeah. We know each of them from different aspects of the music scene, you know.
We've been playing shows with all those bands for about a year and a half now. So actually, it's funny. Finn, the lead singer of Boom Bang, gave us really good. We're married.
Hey,
by
Finn, we love
but
Finn.
she gave us really good advice for our wedding because
Yeah, that's how we first connected with Finn. She gave us marriage advice.
Smart.
She said on your wedding you should make sure to always stay together because otherwise you're gonna spend the whole time apart and it's gonna go over.
Because everybody
very
wants to talk to you
Yeah.
at a wedding.
fast, which was
Yeah.
really really good advice. So
Except when we tried to stick together, everybody would follow us.
yeah, that was very funny.
Like sick puppies, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was fine. I mean, it was great, but it was like we didn't do like an official like first dance, but we snuck off, not snuck off, just like went down to sort of like the foyer sort of area, and it was to that Elvis song.
I can't help falling in love with you.
Falling in love with that song.
that.
And then we're
That's so
dancing,
sweet.
and it's very sweet. And then like 15 of our friends go, "Oh, hey, what's going on over here? What's going on over here?" We get
We're having a
like,
moment. That's what. Thanks for ruining
And
it.
we're like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
But shout
My
out
God,
to
when you went
Finn.
to consummate, did they all stand around freaking outside
exactly.
the freaking door?
tens across the board.
I could get
That's
it.
like
Jesus
the
Christ.
old the monarchies used to do that in Europe because they had to
Yeah.
make sure that the marriage got consummated, so they all sat there and watched.
It's fucking weird, man.
Different times.
I mean, I don't know if you ever saw the Marie Antoinette movie that Sophia, what's her name? You know, the daughter.
Coppola.
Yeah,
Coppola, Sophia Coppola.
Yeah, so that happened
Fighting
to that
words.
and that movie. That's funny. So anyway, was
Union Pool.
that show fun? Like, did you?
Yeah,
what about
it's
your
always
performance?
fun. Yeah, I really like playing at Union Pool. The staff there is really great. Typically, the sound people are really great because, like, you know, for me, I've been playing out in the New York City scene for I guess 5 or 6 years now, and you know, it always depends on the venue. But I've had hits and misses when it comes to my relationship with the sound person. When I go in to play a show, I am everybody's coworker at that venue. That's how I think about it. I am the security guard's coworker. I am the manager's coworker. I'm the sound person's coworker. I'm the barback's coworker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to treat everybody the same, but you don't always get that same thing back. And, you know, often being the only woman on the bill, sometimes I've gotten shit from sound people. And,
Which are usually men, right?
Usually men. Yeah. I've never had a problem with a female sound person. But yeah, I've gotten like weird passive aggressive comments. People have asked me to like make sure not to get any lipstick on the microphone and shit like that.
Excuse
they
me,
won't let me back
lady.
into the venue because they don't believe that I was in the band. If I
Did you
could
get wristbands for
outside
that or
to like
something?
make a phone call or something like that, you know.
So I say that again.
I said, don't you get wristbands like that for that or something?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I've had no issues.
Yeah, you've been fine, but Union Pool is never like that. Union Pool's really has a great staff of sound engineers and managers and stuff. So it's always fun to play there. I love that stage. I love that we have an area for our merch. I love that people go to Union Pool or used to go to Union Pool to like meet other people. I think it's a big socializing hub where you go to meet other people, you know, other millennials, whatever, millennial types.
Right.
So I love Union Pool. I think Union Pool is great. I hope that we can play there again and have a big show again soon. I don't know.
Oh, you know what other band? The other band I wanted to ask you about, like specifically that intrigued me. Jane, what was the band that came on right before them that were wearing like all black and it was
London
like,
Plane.
yeah. How do you know them and what's
You
your
met with them, didn't you? We played with them at the Bowery Electric.
We played with them at the Bowery Electric, and they were very good. So I have been friends with them and emailing back and forth with them for a while. That show, it took them a while to get on a bill, but they're great. And you know, it's funny you mentioned the all black thing because I think that like visual cues and like having like a distinct visual style to your band is very important. And so many band. I mean, it's like I'm so fucking sick of seeing 4 guys in shitty fucking t-shirts and stupid ugly jeans and nasty fucking shoes.
What if they were not stupid ugly jeans?
Right. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Very cool. Whatever. You know.
What if they were really hip jeans?
Really cool.
Really
in it jeans.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that would make it all the better. Yeah. Yeah. No. You know what I mean? It's like when you get 4 guys who love the fucking Strokes on stage together, and you're like, all right, I've seen this band a million fucking times. Like I've seen that band. Yeah. I've seen that band 10 times a fucking year, and it's like,
especially in New York,
the poor man's Strokes.
Yeah, especially in New York.
The poor man's. And I like the Strokes, but it's like, dang man, that was like
that's their style. Let them have it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So I mean, London Plain, they so well understand like how to put on a good show.
Showmanship.
Yeah. What it means to be like a good performer, what it means to be a good band. I just really enjoy playing with them.
I think there are a lot of musicians who like hate musical theater and hate theater, and so like try to distance themselves and don't think about the full aspect of putting on a show. I come from a theater background. He doesn't, but we still, both feel like it's really important to, yes, the music's good. Yes, the music is like the main feature, but the music can shine through better or get people to pay attention to it more closely if all of the other theatrical elements of the show are also paid attention to.
Does the choreography come from you? The choreography?
I love it. Choreography is funny. I took a lot of dance as a kid and growing up. I'm not a dancer per se, but I basically, when we have rehearsals with whoever's singing for us, right now we have Jasmine Knight and Molly Williams. Shout out to them. They're a bunch of badasses. Basically, when we have rehearsal, we'll be like, okay, we need to do some sort of movement. What kind of movement does it need to be? Is it a backup singer kind of like thing happening? I always loved Michael Jackson's backup singers, so I kind of try to think about what they would do.
Okay.
Nice. Or is it like a big group thing? Like we do in our cover of I Think We're Alone Now. It takes after the Tiffany version, and we do like a whole dance break in the middle of the song, where we line up, and it's essentially like a wave of poses, almost like we're voguing in slow motion, and it's going across the stage.
It's so good. It's so good. It's well like done, I want to like learn the moves so I can do them in the audience. Like it's like,
well, they're all really simple. Like my belief is really that anybody can look good doing a move if it's simple and they're committed, and it's crisp. So you know exactly what angle the elbow needs to be at, exactly which way the hips need to go, and everybody's doing it the same way at the same time. You don't need to be a incredibly technical dancer if everybody knows how to be uniform and committed. And as my voice teacher has told me multiple times, audiences are stupid. Yeah. So like
True.
Not to
as
be
an audience,
we're sheep. We want to be led.
But it's like
what to do.
As an audience, I agree.
Right. If you see me and 4 other people on stage step touch in the same direction, doesn't matter if I'm not moving that much on stage. If we're all doing it together, it's really effective.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. People love it. I mean, you can, exactly what Mason said, you could do a very little bit and it can be very, very impactful. I think a lot of what we try to do.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think
less can be more sometimes for sure.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what we do and a lot of sort of what we want to do is like high impact performance. We want to come big, fast, hit hard, lights, dancing, the sexy,
and then disappear before you really knew what happened to you.
Puff of smoke and then you're out. Yeah, we gotta get you like ninja smoke bombs.
If only our breakdown was that simple.
If we could get smoke machines, that would be the coolest thing. Just something Prince would do. I mean, you think about like a lot of my favorite live.
We're big Prince fans.
Yeah.
Prince fans.
No, same.
Yeah, anything Prince was doing like mid to late 80s is so great, and those concerts like 2.5 hours. He's going off, but then his backup dancers are also, or backup singers, backup dancers are also like going with him and doing that sort of stuff. I love.
In the Sign of the Times tour, he had one go-go dancer just on top of the top tier of the scaffolding, and he had other people dancing on the bottom, just doing the regular like backup singer dancing. Obviously, he's moving the whole time, and then he's just one go-go dancer on a box on the top tier, and they can shoot her in silhouette or they can shoot her with the light directly on her, and it looks amazing. And it's so simple, just one person.
Well, I think also if you take, I think maybe the concert film that started us in this direction was Stop Making Sense by
Oh,
Talking
we've
Heads.
watched Stop Making Sense a lot of time. Not
okay,
a new
okay.
thing, obviously, but it's really important to
Well,
us.
if you haven't seen it, basically the whole it's this sort of like Brechtian postmodern approach to
Jonathan Demme directed it, I think.
yeah. Or that whole tour was like he wanted to show the bones of what it meant to like put on the show. So he would keep the house lights up while they would set everything up, and everything would be like when stuff would be brought on and off. It wasn't like obscured in any way. The whole band wore gray jumpsuits. There was no the lights were very simple. One song he kind of does what we do and kind of has lamps on stage and uses on stage lamps.
Oh yeah, we were inspired by that. That's when they do what's the song called? Naive Melody. Yeah.
God.
But yeah, so I mean, but if you take a look at that film, it's very simple, but everything, all the choreography is so good. It's such a high energy show, and everything just works together, I think, in a really, really, like I'm saying, like impactful way. And he didn't need these huge costumes. And I'm not saying that like,
although he does have the big suit.
He does have the big suit. I guess
Yeah.
he does have
It's
a
expected.
costume. But it is like the visual style is distinct. The movement is excellent and entertaining. The music is a Talking Heads. You know what I'm fucking talking about.
And
that.
everything's
Yeah.
I think deliberate is the word.
And it's so like, I just feel like that was such a, okay. Our computer.
I will get it. You need to finish your thought.
I just think it's that was such a important thing for us to watch, and we've taken so much from that sort of philosophy. I mean,
have you guys? Go ahead.
I was just gonna. I think that that's sort of what's missing in a lot of music today, or at least music at this level. You have people who've been playing for a year, and they want to take the first 12 songs they've ever written and put them on an album. We write. We probably only record 1 out of every 20 songs we write.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
We probably get. I mean, not. Yeah, we probably get to like a part where the song is finished. It's not mixed, but all the broad strokes are there. Everything is laid out, and I think it. Like I said, we're valuing people's time, and I think
we only want to put out the best, and we do like spend most evenings out of the week, whether or not in quarantine, writing songs together. So we inevitably have to pick the best ones. I don't know if we're still continuing to answer their questions.
No, you are.
You are. Trust me.
No, you are. You are.
We can go off.
It is interesting. I just wanted to like kind of bring this back real quick because like the Living Strange actually does something different where they're putting out one song. It's so funny because like Elijah and I have this like rivalry that he has no idea about just because I'm so intimidated by how no, not. I mean, I'm very competitive, so a lot of my drive comes from seeing what other people are doing, and I'm like, well, I can fucking do that, or I can also do something cool. And it's like Elijah probably has no idea that I feel this way.
He does now.
Yeah, he
He's
does
about
now.
to,
But
yeah.
and I really like him. And I think what he's doing is actually so impressive because he's kind of gone the other route where he's putting out lots of full albums, but they're all kind of conceptualized really, 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 really well. And I think that he's really done a lot of interesting stuff going in the opposite direction. So even though like
but
we
have the same idea with the same intention because he wrote like 12 songs and is releasing one a month, right? So it's still, it's more output, but it's still very deliberate in how it's being given to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like to keep people around like that who I'm I guess intimidated by, or like who
it's good to not be the best person in the room.
Yeah,
it gives you something to strive for.
Slightly better than you, I think, in your life, so you can try to be better.
Yeah.
Well, that was like I had this other question that, and you already kind of touched on it. It's funny I have it here. I was like, "What are you working on? Anything COVID related?"
Apparently everything.
Which actually,
we are.
I don't even need to.
Nice.
I know the answer to that question because I went to your Spotify and it's like you have this new song called Quarantine. So the answer is yes, they do.
Yeah.
And,
We just
tangentially.
You go ahead, please.
So
tell us about quarantine and like the whole thing, like what inspired that. Obviously, well, we know what inspired that, but the process. That's all.
So we wanted to. I mean, we like I said, we write most nights out of the week anyway, just hanging out, and we wanted to kind of write something that was addressing what we were all going through, but. And not making light of it because it is obviously it's a global crisis and people are dying and it's a really tough time. But we also kind of thought, well, what about all of the horny people right now in quarantine?
Thank you.
Yeah, what about him?
What about
Yeah, and
I
so
feel
we
seen.
thought we kind of wanted to try to have a little fun with it and write a song that strikes a balance between humor and horniness and sincerity, and kind of play with all of these images that are in our minds constantly now with masks and gloves. And there's a line in the song about latex where I tried to make like a double entendre with kink and like latex gloves from like that we're all wearing right now,
Which could be both. I mean, some
right,
people
Mhm.
have a thing for the gloves alone, which is,
yeah, so
Yeah, anybody with a medical
Whatever.
fetish is having a great time right now.
oh man, yeah. I saw
Whatever
an
you like.
article that I loved. A medical fetish website donated a bunch of their supplies to a local hospital.
Hot. Good for
Isn't
them.
that awesome?
Yeah.
Shout out to them. I need to find out the name of that
Humanity,
website.
the internet coming together.
some good news
Seriously.
today. I needed some good news. That is definitely some good news. There was a line in that song that was something like, I feel like you're not listening to me or something like that.
So that kind of came out of this idea of just literally being social distanced. Like, because I liked this really corny line of my heart's in quarantine. Like, I think that's really a funny lyric. It's very cheesy. It feels like it could be like a Madonna, like Sex Kitten, early, like mid 80s lyric, and so I kind of just started with that idea of like, how do I make this really silly lyric work? And sort of using the idea of quarantine and distance and isolation to also talk about like miscommunication. You know what I mean?
Smart.
Do you
So-
feel, go ahead.
Well, okay, so we've been kind of touching on it, and now you specified a little bit more. A question that always ends up getting asked to artists, like, what is your writing style? Like, how do songs come along for you guys? Is it a lot of like throwing darts at the board, figuring out what sticks, or it sounds like you guys write so much, then you just kind of come back to it?
Yeah, everything kind of happens at the same time for us. So
Really?
we sit here at our desk. We have our little work desk. We put the
Battle
computer
station.
behind me, and we have our speakers on either side, and we have
Oh,
all
hey.
our synths and like drum machine stuff hooked up. And usually we just start with like a fun drum loop that we found and edited, or a bass line that's been in our heads that we want to get out. It usually starts with drum and bass. We're very like rhythm section oriented. It's all about the bass.
It's got a groove.
It's got to have a groove.
sure.
And that's where you get the groove. So we usually start with music, and at the same time that we're doing that, we're both paying attention to what's going on in Ableton. And we're both also kind of paying attention to what's happening lyrically. So like, I'm usually thinking about, all right, what part of the song does this feel like? Does this feel like a part that gets repeated a lot? Does this feel like a part of the song that's leading to something else? Is this the part of the song that's giving us narrative background,
Mhm.
And then I kind of try to write around that, and then figure out, all right, so what are the other pieces of the song now that I have this verse or I have this chorus or whatever that is needed in the song to make the other pieces make sense. So it's all kind of always happening at the same time. And because we're electronic artists, all the production is also happening at the same time.
Makes sense, yeah.
So the feel of the song is reflected in the lyrics. It's reflected in the bass sound that we create. It's reflected in, is this a square kick drum rhythm or is this a syncopated kick drum rhythm? Like, all those things are really connected for us. So I think inevitably they kind of all have to happen at the same time.
Cool,
Makes
cool. So what's your like level of communication out with the other band members, the backup singers? Like, are you guys in touch? How are
Yeah,
they doing?
We talk.
3 times a week.
I mean, Jasmine, they got sick, so we've just been checking in on them every so often because they're at their house in Brooklyn. Molly went home to the Midwest to make sure her mom was okay. Kansas City.
Yeah, we've been talking to them.
Okay,
But we haven't seen them since the Union Pool show,
Okay.
which
Oh,
is really
really?
sad
Wow.
for us
Wow,
because
yeah.
we miss them a lot.
We kind of had to make
And
on
we write. They don't typically,
Yeah.
contribute writing for the band. Although if they wanted to, we'd definitely be open to
yeah,
it.
we spent a lot of time trying to, how do I put this? We spent a long time trying to fit a square peg in a round hole by trying to get people who were going to be part of the band, and we were like not pay them and essentially have them
when we couldn't when we could
Sure.
not pay them. Now
try to
now
be like,
everybody makes money when the band makes money,
Yeah.
but at that
Mhm.
time we weren't
weren't
able to
making
make money. Yeah.
and I always thought, because I always had this like fantasy in my head that every band is like, oh, it's like the Beatles and everyone's
Right.
writing
Everybody is
songs and
invested in the
everyone's
same
working
way, the
together,
same amount, but
and
that's
we're
not
all-
true.
We're 4 guys and we're living in an apartment together, and it is kind of like these kind of like lies that you get taught by the media, and every movie about music is like, it's like, oh, play that riff again. I've got some words in my head, and almost
That's the worst. All the music biopics where they're always
Yeah.
like, "This is when Queen figured out Bohemian Rhapsody because one
It's
was
like,
sitting there and played the
exactly. And
bass
it's like-
line, and then it all came together in 30 minutes." Like, no, you're full of shit. That took them like
Yeah,
weeks.
our
to put
writing
together.
process is more just me kind of going like this. At the
More,
computer, and I'm
it's
like,
very
does
uninteresting.
this suck? I'm like, do I suck?
Is this good at
Is
all?
this good or anything? Is this fine, or is this like just mediocre bullshit? And it's like so much of that is more what we do now. But back in the day, I kept trying to like encourage that sort of
Inspire everyone.
inspire everyone to
be
have
creatively productive.
yeah, exactly. And that's
But not
just-
everybody wants that from
Yeah.
being in a band. Some people are like really amazing vocalists, and they just want to be able to lend what they can do to the
Mhm.
band. And in a situation where at the time it was either like we can't pay you, but we want you to like feel creatively invested, like this is your baby, like you can do with it what you want. That's not really what everybody wants, and that's totally fair, and we had to learn that as band leaders. So I think,
So how did you ultimately find like the perfect fit?
well, people's lives are always constantly changing in New York,
Yeah.
right? People live very fast-paced lives. So we still sometimes have people like cycling in and out. But I think what's been working for us now is we do all the writing pretty much. And we'll get their input on the vocal arrangements because they're the ones singing it, unless I have something really specific I want. But, we do all the creative stuff, and then we let them kind of do what they want within that, I guess is the best way to explain it.
I would say that the people we have backup singing for us are like perfect. Like
They're incredible.
think
Jasmine
if
and
we-
Molly are
if
incredible.
we were getting paid $100,000 a show, I wouldn't want to get other people. But go on.
And I just want to say about Jasmine and Molly, they are both very good songwriters in their own right.
Yeah.
That. That's not to say.
But I think what's really helped. I think was just as like what Mason was saying. But I think what's more just as important is that like we became. Our expectations and our approach changed, which then allowed other people to much more easily fit into what we're going to do. Like for starters, we've become more respectful with our backup singers' times, or the other people working with their time.
Learning how to communicate and how to plan ahead for other people that you're working with, so that
Things are
we're all
efficient. Or
efficient.
you can send them essentially exactly, as opposed to having 3.
This is so boring, guys. I'm so
No,
not at all.
If it was, we'd tell you.
Okay.
We like
Good.
to know how this all comes together.
So sometimes we'll send them an email, and it's usually about 3 months in advance.
Well, it's more like before we would want to have like 3 practices a week, and I was like, we're gonna have 3 practices a week. They're gonna be 3 hours a week.
Kurt Cobain, I think, said that you can't have a band if you don't practice like 5 times a week.
Right, and that's exactly. That's like the bullshit
See?
stuff I was
Yeah.
like talking about. These bullshit fucking lies we've been fed. Not
Yeah.
lies, just like stuff that doesn't work for us.
Well, yeah,
so-
it probably did work for Kurt Cobain, but it doesn't mean it works for
Yeah.
you guys. So.
Clearly.
Yeah. So it's becoming more just us becoming better like that. It also really helps now that we can pay them. We have
Sure.
our
Thank you, New York City, for coming out and seeing our shows before quarantine, so that all of our backup singers can eat.
yeah.
It's a
Well,
big
yeah.
plus.
Yeah, we have a pretty we have like a minimum amount they get paid, and then it's a certain percentage after that minimum. So if we do really well, everyone goes home real happy.
Yeah.
Even if we
Yeah.
don't do well, everyone still gets a little something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really nervous for when things do open up again. Because even when they're open, I don't know if people want to come to shows,
Oh, I think a lot of people are going to want to. I think bars are going to make an absolute killing the second they open back up.
Really?
My biggest worry is that they're probably going to do a lot of like half capacity shows and that kind of thing for a while.
I'm sure.
But-
Yeah.
And I highly doubt EZU is still going to happen, which is a huge disappointment because they
Although
canceled
half
everything
capacity shows easier to sell out, and then you can have that really cool photo on
Point.
your Facebook being like, "Yo, just sold this place out. What up?"
else. Silver lining, spin zone, love it.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Our
So-
first sellout show, I definitely did that.
Hell yeah, yeah, I would too.
Sure.
So you got so there's always that. The other thing I wanted to see too was like non-music related stuff. Like what's keeping you guys busy right now when you're not writing songs? Like what are you doing over there besides hanging out with the dog? And I don't know, you watching Tiger King? What's going on? Like what are you up to?
Having sex, taking the dog on really long walks.
A lot of cooking.
We have a pit bull, and she has a lot of energy.
We've been rewatching. I'm excited about this one. There's 2 shows we've been watching that are absolutely fucking snap. The Sopranos.
I'm watching it for the first time. He's rewatching.
I'm rewatching it, and Mason has to. I'm trying to also get a functional impression of everyone on the Sopranos. So sometimes I just like copy what they're saying, and
Are you gonna give a taste now?
Let's hear it.
My Silvio.
You're Silvio?
I don't know, Tom. I don't know about that, Tom.
Is he your favorite?
No, I think Paulie's my favorite. I think he's just I think he's
Bobby Bacala, the sweetest man on The Sopranos.
He's my heart and soul, that big, beautiful bastard. I love it. I think The Sopranos is still the greatest TV show ever. But close on its heels is Sex and the City. We've been starting to watch Sex and the City.
Oh boy!
Oh, cool.
I gotta say, the only movie I've.
But are you talking about the movies?
These are two shows. These are two shows.
We have
with
different relationships with the shows in the movies.
We're watching the shows now, but we watched because I saw on Netflix there was Sex and the City 2, The Sexening.
That's not the actual subtitle, but that's
Sex and the City 2, Sex Harder.
He likes coming up with Sex and the City.
Sex Electric Boogaloo.
So in answer to your question, we've been coming up with Sex and the City 2 subtitles.
There you go.
The shows that you guys are watching are like the endings are like have the public like highly divided. Like some people think they're great, and some people are like, I hate the end how Sopranos,
Totally.
and I hate how Sex and the City ended. Like, how do you guys feel about? Well, you haven't seen The Sopranos all the way through yet. Right?
I haven't finished The Sopranos yet, so jury's out on that. I don't know. I've never been a Mr. Big fan.
Same.
Personally, I was an Aiden girl.
Yep.
But
Big Dick, is that what they call Mr. Big?
no, because he's like a big man
Big deal.
about town, like he's rich.
Big dick energy.
Big dick energy, before Big Dick Energy was a thing.
I also love watching Sex and the City and just like grading all of Carrie's outfit. You're like, that's a C-.
We're really into the fashion. But
I keep notes on it.
But Sex and the City 2, the movie. So we're both fans of the show, and the show is a brilliant piece of HBO.
That like warranted
gold.
a chair spin. I don't know.
It's the only movie we saw, and I was like, I'm gonna put this one back on because I gotta fucking experience.
Yeah, see it again, really.
So Evan had never seen Sex and the City, the first movie.
I haven't seen the first movie.
He hadn't seen the first movie where it starts with Carrie getting stood up at the altar with the most fabulous blue headpiece.
I love that. I do. I love that headpiece.
It's the best. I think about it all the time. But and then so Sex and the City 2 I'd never seen, and we thought it would be fun. We like watching B movies a lot. Teen Witch is a cornerstone of our relationship. It's our favorite film. If you haven't seen Teen Witch, you gotta go watch it. But we like watching B movies, and we thought it might not be quite as good as the others, and we were correct.
It's an insane movie because it has such derision for gays
and
women.
And it starts with a gay wedding, and all
Right.
of the it's so.
Is this Teen Witch?
No.
No.
Sex and the City 2. Sex and the City 2. We will never defame Teen Witch. But yeah, no, Sex and the City 2 just is really, really strange. It's got a strange vibe. It can't quite nail its tone, but it is so fun.
For example, they started this gay wedding, and it's like the whole vibe is
It's
like
Stanford's wedding.
Stanford's wedding, and he's marrying the
The only
Italian
other
gay guy.
man on the show.
Yeah, which is like funny because it's like they make a bunch of jokes where like, well, he's gay and I'm gay, and by the time you're 40, there's no good gay men left, so we just partner off, and it's like okay, and they're like, there's like Liza Minnelli does the ceremony, and they're like,
because of course, what is? Oh my God.
well, they were like, oh, with all these gays around, Liza must have just materialized.
Like Liza's representation must not have been on set that day because I get really upset watching the Liza part.
Liza Minnelli does the most uncomfortable cover of Single Ladies with the dance and everything, but she's 70 and
Look, she's doing a great job.
You're not selling me this movie.
But
it's don't worry. They go to the Middle East in this movie.
It's like, Grandma, no.
There's a bunch of scenes in the movie too. They're in the
Wait,
Middle
maybe
East.
okay. So actually, maybe this would fit. Mara and I had this thing, and we've dragged our other friends into it too.
Yeah.
Where we will watch really shitty movies.
yeah.
It started with The Room, obviously, because where else do you go
Obviously.
from there?
Yep.
And then we would just be like, well, this looks like a horrible movie. Let's put this on. And
that's our whole that's our vibe too. We love it.
Yeah.
I took the cake the other night, though. I showed James
Oh
the
my God,
worst. It's literally the worst movie I've ever seen, and it's funny
It
because
is the worst movie I've ever seen.
It was
without
done
a
by
doubt.
Gus Van Sant, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And it's critically acclaimed. It's called Jerry. It is
Jerry.
the most
With a G.
mind-numbingly boring movie. It's Casey Affleck and Matt Damon, which you would think that'd make it
2002 Casey Affleck and Matt Damon.
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
quality
just
Casey and Matt.
It's just like watching paint peel. I mean, it's like these guys, and they're just. And James says, "What's this movie?" It's like it's two guys, and they're walking in the desert. And like I'm telling you,
But
just
worse.
scenes like 7 minutes long of people walking or
7
staring
minutes
in
of the
distance.
camera panning around this
It's
guy
painful,
sitting
you
in
guys.
like
If you
literally
really want to
7 minutes
challenge your
of just
patience,
panning around.
Do you know
Jerry.
who else is full of fucking shit? Who's a director? Is that Lars von Trier? What a
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
garbage ass
He's-
director.
He's also a
Pretty-
garbage human. Have you
Yeah.
guys
Oh, yeah?
seen the press conference where he completely embarrasses Kirsten Dunst?
No.
They're at a
No.
press conference for Melancholia, sorry. And she's sitting like right next to him, and he starts talking about what it would be like if she did porn. Just right there.
What? Right in front
What
of
a
her.
jerk.
He hates
What
his
movies did he
female
do?
protagonist. He did Melancholia, Dancer in the Dark, Insomniac, Antichrist,
If you ever want to see some woman cut off her clit, watch
Breaking the
Antichrist.
Wave.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Did he do Breaking the Waves?
I don't know.
Maybe he didn't.
You
do
want to see a
Breaking the
woman
Waves.
hang? See Dancer in the Dark. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Seems like
you
there's
know what's a good movie though? There's a great movie called Party Mom. And if you ever want to watch a real piece of shit movie about a woman who loves to get drunk with high school kids,
Oh yeah, I would.
Oh yeah,
Here's the
sure.
thing.
Party
Here's what we
Mama.
like in bad movies. We like bad movies that are not trying to be anything that they're not, and that look like they have a lot of joy put into them.
Yeah.
Hence why Teen Witch is the archetype. It is
the
a.
most joyous movie I've ever
It's
seen.
everyone who's involved, everyone who's on screen in that movie looks like they're having the best time. Nobody's trying to pretend like they're in some big Daniel Day-Lewis like melodrama. You know, the music is very fun.
Yeah,
The
great.
costumes are fun.
It starts-
Blake Lively's sister
Blake
is
Lively's
the
sister is
lead,
the lead,
and
yeah.
she's
Oh, there you go.
fabulous. Louise.
Okay. I feel like Teen Witch is like my sorority babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama. Like I feel like that's my
Okay, wait.
Wait, you need to back that up. Say
That's a
that
new one for me
again.
too. Wait a minute.
It's called Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama, and it is a horror film, but it's like not. Do you know what I mean? It's like
It's
not
camp.
gross. It's
It's
so
campy.
campy, and
It's
it's
too
amazing.
shitty to be horror.
There's like this. So it's like the sorority girls. Of course, they get it because that's what happens in those movies. And then like the tough chick, her name is Spike, and she's like her opening scene is she's stealing from the bowling alley. She's like got like the crowbar and all of that, and
Cool. I like that.
yeah, it's just very like classic 80s camp.
gotta
with like a
watch it.
minimum degree of horror. I think it's some deal where they're supposed to stay overnight in the bowling alley and steal some trophies, but it's like haunted.
I love
and
that it's a
da-da-da-da.
bowling alley because
Yeah, it's like why
It's
like one of the
yeah.
least scary places
I
you
was
could
about to say it's a
possibly
very
go in.
underutilized
wholesome.
horror
So yeah,
location.
Sorority
there.
Babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama. I'll never forget.
Thank
it.
you for that.
Write that down.
That's my
bowling alley.
Right, they
That-
had access to a bowling alley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
nice sweet brag there.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool. You have a bowling alley, great.
yeah, it's one of those movies that's just stuck with me for decades.
I understand why.
Well, when you see it, I don't know if you'll thank me or hate me for it,
Trust
but
me.
you know
I
what?
Thank you.
I just put it in front of you. It's like
hate you
that
for it. She
the
showed me
Ring
Jerry. It was
VHS
awful.
tape, and you can watch it or not. But if you do, it's on you.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I also want to ask you guys too. Who's your dream act to open up for? Like you
Oh.
could put like a current, like not like so and so, but they died. Like not like David Bowie, like an
Right.
actual
Like
act
LCD
that you could
sound
open for.
system.
LCD
Yeah.
LCD, yeah.
It's a good one. No.
LCD sound system with
We had that fast answer.
yeah, oh yeah,
Get it
it's
ready.
absolutely. I mean, it's just like they're the best. I didn't listen to them for like 6 months, and then I would for quarantine actually. I was using Oh Baby as like a mixing reference, and I started listening to them again. And I'm like, oh, this is like the best band.
Still better than most other things. Yeah.
Now, have you ever seen them live?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When and where?
So okay, for my birthday a few years ago, Evan surprised me with tickets to see them at Brooklyn Steel.
like the December.
Yeah,
the
those
December
shows
run that they
yeah,
did.
yeah.
And actually, so we had the best time there. We have a couple stories from that show, but one of the ones that I always laugh at is, so we used to live in a 4-bedroom apartment with all these other musicians who are our friends. And everybody sort of ended up, dispersing, but they were all at our wedding. Like, we're all still really close. And we had already moved out of the apartment that we had all been living in together. But we had listened to a ton of LCD Sound System when we lived all together. And in fact, it was one of them, Colin Coogan, who's another New York musician, who had introduced me to them in the first place. And so we know we have tickets to the Tuesday night show or something. Yeah, and there was no opener, and the doors opened at 8, so we're like, well, we're getting there at 8. And we're right, yeah, obviously, and we're right up front. There's nobody else really in the room yet because LCD Sound System's not coming on for another hour and a half.
It was like the sort of thing where we're like, well, I don't know when it's gonna start, but if we get there after it starts, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
If I miss a single thing, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
So we get
plus
there.
You got to be front row.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
exactly. And then we get there, and the only other 2 people that are up front is one of the couples that we used to live with.
Oh, get out.
Who had originally introduced me to the band. Hey, guys.
Oh, you guys know this band? Cool.
really funny.
I mean, it makes sense. Of all people we'd run into there, it would be them.
It was such a good show. Next to us were some
teens,
some younger teens, some young fellas, and I got the vibe that the guy, it was like a guy and a girl, and I think the guy had like bought these tickets, which, let me tell you, were really fucking expensive.
I was about to say, yeah, they couldn't have been cheap.
I mean, it was like they were
sold out immediately.
They were like,
exactly,
they were like $280 a pop,
on StubHub after the fact.
It was just like, it was like James Murphy doesn't look. He could have a heart attack at any time. I don't know. He's used to a bunch of cocaine.
He looks older than he is.
You gotta see him when you can.
I think he lives rough.
But
we love you, Uncle James.
Anyway, so there were the guy and the girl next to us, and I definitely got the vibe that like, he got tickets, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask my crush out," because she seemed like she was like dancing up on him a little bit, but he seemed to like be trying to really get in on it. And
she didn't seem like she was paying him any mind. And she took her shoes off.
Yeah, she took her shoes
She
off.
was barefoot in the front row at Brooklyn Steel.
Oh God.
Well, weren't those like the first couple
brave.
shows of Brooklyn Steel though?
What would say that again?
Weren't those like the first couple shows at Brooklyn Steel?
Yeah, but by the end of the show, the floors were still covered in beer
Fair enough.
Filth.
And it was just like filthy. And it was just like,
You see, wait, let me guess. She probably wore heels to that, right?
yeah,
Probably.
Rookie mistake.
I think it's very funny that you guys asked us who we'd like to perform for, and we've spent the entire time talking about not the show, but the
Specifically, yeah.
audience.
the fucking guys next.
That's
Oh,
clearly
you have to. Sometimes the audience is like, wow, like that's a real character I
was
just
a
ran
crazy
into
show.
there.
I did not. Again, I keep getting myself in unexpected mosh pit situations.
Oh my god!
Yeah?
I just heard the fucking guy who almost ruined the show for me. Okay, so behind me, dude, this drove me fucking insane. So LCD Sound System, they do this really cool thing where they're like, hey, if you're in this front section, don't take photos. They're like, if you want to take photos, just go in the back and take photos in the back. And they're like, after our first song, we're gonna do a bunch of poses, and then you can take photos of the poses. Then please put your phones away, which I think is beyond fucking generous, and also like the right thing to do. Be like, don't do that, dude. There was this fucking chode behind me who the whole show literally. The whole show just literally mouth open like a fucking mongoloid. Just filming the show, and then literally
Watching the show through his little screen.
And he was doing it for like most of the show. And there's one point where James Murphy's singing a song, like singing like Someone Great, like singing one of these.
I think
songs.
it was during
I think it was
Someone Great, which, if you know that song, is a really intense, sad song.
We're big
And he
fans.
points at him, and he kind of goes like, and he kind of does this like hand down. He kind of does like the
Gesturing to him to put his phone down.
gesturing to put his way, like almost pointing at this guy, and the guy.
Uncle James is pointing at you,
better
asking
put
you
that
to put
down.
your phone
No.
down, and the guy's pretending like he doesn't see him at all.
The guy who we're here to see, I'm like, you either paid out the fucking ass for these tickets, or you're waiting. Like, this band means a lot to everyone there, and like the fact that you can't, like, he just asked you to put your phone away, and the fact that you didn't is just like, it made me so angry that I had to like, I mean, like I said, it almost ruined the fucking show because I was so mad. I was like, how can you do this? I don't know.
You should have roundhouse kicked it just
Yeah.
right out of the hands. Just oops. You know what I mean?
Oops.
Yeah. Sometimes someone just needs
Oh,
a little
darn.
Yeah,
bump.
just a
How-
little reach over.
But how
and
was
smack.
how was the show itself? Like
Amazing. It was
Yeah.
The
amazing.
best show I've ever seen. I mean,
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, is that
'Cause
the
that was
best
the other
concert
act,
that you guys
yeah.
have seen together? Like your favorite
We've
show?
seen a couple really cool concerts together, especially when we first started dating. We went to the Prospect Park Bandshell a lot that first
Love it.
summer we were dating, and we saw the National together, and we
Good
saw Neutral Milk Hotel together.
Nice.
And it was a really cool show because it was outside, and I hadn't really listened to Neutral Milk Hotel since high school. That was like a big high school band for me, but everybody there was about our age and or maybe a little bit older, a little bit younger, but everybody had been listening to them for a while and really cared. And we're all outside, and it starts to thunderstorm. And it comes down really, really hard, but nobody's moving. And then the head of the Prospect Park Bandshell, I don't know, Celebrate Brooklyn, he comes out and he makes an announcement in the middle of the show, like, hey, I don't know why I'm miming to have a microphone.
Yeah,
I'm literally
with you.
holding a microphone.
So he was like,
So, and then,
he had two microphones, and he was talking into both of them.
Oh, two fake microphones. I'll hold the real one.
So he comes out and he tries to stop the show. He tries to say, like, hey, everybody, this is this is a dangerous situation now. It's a dangerous storm. We can't continue the show. Everybody out. Everybody out. Everybody needs to evacuate. Nobody's moving. Everyone in the crowd refuses to leave because they're like, we are here to see Neutral Milk Hotel, and we don't care if it's raining.
Which, if you don't know Neutral Milk Hotel, is they're like a band that they broke up for like 20 years or something, and then
So the band goes off stage for maybe 2 minutes and then realizes that nobody's leaving. The band comes back on stage and they make an announcement saying, don't worry guys, no matter what the park says, we're going to finish playing this show. And we all scream and shout, and they just keep playing the show in the rain. It was amazing.
It's incredible. I got a similar story to that. First time I saw Matt and Kim was I went to college up in Albany, and they do these 2 block parties every year, and one is called
Albany.
No, I went to Siena College.
Oh, cool.
Fuck SUNY. Go Saints. Let's go Siena. Yeah, don't worry. I've never heard of Siena either. It's fun. So they did Pearlpalooza, which was on Pearl Street, and that was with WQX 1027, the radio station up there, which is the indie station, everything like that. So the acts that they would get are all the indie acts that, especially in college, I was fucking obsessed with.
I saw Matt and Kim at his college too. They
nice
college circuit.
Yeah,
they probably
2009.
Actually, I also saw them open for Passion Pit, but whatever. That's a whole story. It was one of the best shows ever. So they were they were headliners, obviously, at the time, because it was like 2013, so they were still really, really big. Yeah. And it starts, Fantagram came on before then. Fantagram finishes.
I saw them at my college, too.
It starts pouring. And so everybody starts sort of like going to the bars and everything. And we're there for like half an hour. It's absolutely it is torrential downpour this whole time. And then we hear over the loudspeakers, Matt, like, hey, we're going to play. And if you guys want to come, you guys come. So they start playing, and all these bars empty out. It's pouring rain. They do their full set. By the end of the set, everybody's rushing on the stage and hanging out with them on the stage as they're finishing up a song in the absolute pouring rain. So, I mean, that's just like good showmanship right there.
I would say that the other 2 shows that we've seen that were really good is we saw the National, which is like,
also at the band show.
Oh, the band show is such a good show. Go see the National.
Wait, that's like recently? Because I was at that one.
This was in like
in the
2014.
Summer. Okay.
And
they
then,
came through again. Courtney Barnett opened for them, but she came on at like 5 o'clock, and I didn't know that. I didn't know she was coming on then, so I showed up later, and I missed her because I wanted to see her really bad. But
yeah, she's awesome. But we also saw. Do you guys know the band Jungle?
No,
I forgot about the Jungle
so
show.
Jungle is like a band that headlines the Glastonbury Festival in England, which is like 100,000.
They're big in
yeah,
the UK.
big deal.
Oh yeah, no,
deal,
yeah, of course.
But people in America don't know them, and they are as much. People not really. I still think they kind of sold out Brooklyn Steel, but they are such a good fucking band. Like and kind of similar to like if we were to blow out our production to like a full band and like live music and stuff, it would be probably very similar to Jungle. Like we definitely take a lot of creative cues from them.
Oh wow, now I definitely
similar lights. Like we have one of the kinds of lights we have on stage are the big flash bulbs. Yeah, and they had lights like that on their show, I believe. I think that's where we might have gotten the idea for the flash bulbs.
Well, shoot, I'm
checking. Are we still recording?
I'm just making sure we're still recording on them.
Oh yeah. I think we're good.
All right, looks like we're recording.
Yeah, we're still recording. Great.
Just
Great.
double checking. Wouldn't it be
Okay.
funny if we finished this great interview and it was all lost?
Oh my God. Well, we would. Well, that's. I mean, the thing is like that's why
I think we did that with a
sort of,
podcast one
backup
time.
plans and whatever, like plan Bs and that kind of thing, and have like a few things going just to make sure, like if something does fail, that we have something to fall back on. So we'll be all right.
We're professionals.
I mean, well, it's just a matter of like the value of time and all of that. And it was just like the idea of doing this interview and then just posting nothing is like completely unacceptable.
Right.
So like that's the reason for all of the safeties, and also like sort of a mountain climbing background too. But anyway, this is not that. This isn't we're gonna die. We're gonna die or something if this doesn't come through. But I would be sad. James, did you have some more questions? Where did Evan go?
We had the Dream Act.
He wanted some water.
Oh, okay.
That's the nice thing about doing this at home. You can kind of go in and out.
Yeah, get anytime you want. One thing we like to ask is like, who is somebody that like you wish everybody else was? Who are you listening to that you wish everybody else was right now? Who?
I have an album.
Yeah.
I have one album that I like to talk about sometimes. Do you guys know the artist Laura Marling?
No.
I don't think so.
She's also a UK artist. She's been playing folk music professionally since she was like 16 years old. And she has a lot of really great albums under her name. But she did this project with a producer. I forget the producer's name. And they formed kind of their own thing together. Both the artist credit and the album title is Lump, L-U-M-P. And it is this sort of like really texturally experimental, but really moving short album. I think it's only like 7 songs or something like that. The first time I put that on, and I knew about it because I like Laura Marling. I've been following her since high school. This album's not for everybody, but when I put on the first track, I swear to God, there was something about the textures and the melody of the guitar line that I was like, did they put a microphone in the deepest, darkest corner of my mind? And suddenly, like, wait, Ev, I thought you were changing the Zoom thing. Sorry. You're looking at something. But I was just like, did somebody put a microphone in the corner of my brain and, record it and mix and master it and put it out as a album? Because I don't know why it speaks to me so much, but I think it could be a really great quarantine album, actually, because it's very ruminative and very meditative in a lot of ways. And Laura Marling writes these really incredible abstract lyrics about capitalism in the current day and all this stuff. It's really fabulous. So Lump, go to
Lump.
Spotify and just search Lump.
Evan, what is your lump? Do you have an album?
He's doing some research right now.
There's a couple. I think first of all, I think like
Shintaro
Shikareke.
Yeah.
Shikateke. Let me look.
The Japanese guy you like?
Yeah. Let me look that.
Here, why don't you use my phone instead of changing the
Sakamoto. Shintaro Sakamoto is like a Japanese sort of pop artist, and I think he's really interesting. I've been trying to listen to more international music recently, but I like when like other cultures kind of do like American style pop music, like especially like that's what like that guy is or
American style country music.
Yeah, that's
oh boy. From other countries.
Yeah.
I just feel like they never fully understand it. It's kind of like when Eastern Europeans try and rap because they just don't get it.
That's
like,
why I think it's kind of interesting. Although I would have the same opinion about the rapping. I think
I would also say
I've been to Eastern Europe and their rappers out there are very not good.
It's very
yeah. Speaking of very good rap, the album that Freddie Gibbs and Madlib put out last year is fucking awesome. Especially the song "Gat Damn" is a fucking banger. Jungle, of course, is something I always recommend.
More people should listen to Jungle.
And besides that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything interesting.
We listen to a lot of like classic. I listen to a lot of like classic pop, especially since quarantine. Like I've gotten deeper into Whitney Houston since this all. I mean, I've always been a Whitney fan, but like I've had more time. Gotten deeper into Dolly Parton. I've been listening to all the divas. Right. So they don't need more listens, but that is a lot of what I've been listening to in quarantine because like Cher makes me so happy.
I would also say
Sure.
if quarantine's a good time to get into country music. I think when people say like I listen
Oh,
to everything
yeah.
but country is a very silly
And there's
thing.
so many different types of country. Like
Yeah.
Evan really loves outlaw
I love
country.
outlaw country, so I would always recommend
Yeah.
like Waylon Jennings. I think Waylon Jennings is like the coolest country star. I think he had like
Cooler than Johnny Cash? Cooler than the Man in Black?
I don't know. I
Ooh.
actually
I
am
know you
not
don't
super
really like Johnny
crazy.
Cash.
I like Johnny Cash's stuff he recorded with Rick Rubin, like the later stuff where he's like lispy and he's all strokey and just fucking sounds crazy.
The
I-
9 Inch Nails cover.
There's about 80 songs. That's one of them. I think George Jones and Tammy Wynette is a great like couple who sings really pretty together. And he was a crazy alcoholic, and she was a good Southern woman. So like the story behind them is very interesting. The more you learn, Waylon Jennings was a giant cokehead. You know, I mean,
Yeah. And
Sorry,
I
who and
really
Tammy
like-
And that just means good music, you know.
Yeah.
That just means a lot of energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tammy Wynette and who else?
George Jones.
Oh, okay.
They were married. They did a song called "Golden Ring," they did some Golden Rings, and they also did.
It's a cheating song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also did.
Oh, country
I
song,
know
really.
that one.
I stopped loving her today, which is like,
Oh, that one's hard.
which is very
That's
sad.
a heartbreaker.
It's nice. I don't know. I think more people should listen to like, kind of like not like the like country music.
Change,
That's like
pivot. And if you want a female voices, go listen to the Trio records with Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris, who are
some
3 of
classics.
my
I like it.
idols.
Yeah.
I would 100%. Are you guys familiar with Orville Peck at all?
A
Yeah.
little bit. I've
He's
been
pretty
seeing
cool.
his
That's the
I
new
really
thing,
like
yeah.
him.
His
That's a-
visual is so interesting. I think what he's doing is really cool.
I really like him a lot. So, all right. So you know what? It's like I never thought to put country on my quarantine playlist, but that's actually a really good call. You know
Especially
what I mean?
since so much country music are story songs.
Yeah.
You know,
That's fair.
but, yeah.
I think it's just so inundated with this pop style of country that
And I
the
got
pop
a
country is
truck
and I got
awful.
my gun.
She thinks
And
my
I know, 'cause
tractor's
I'm-
sexy.
Because
that
I'm
song.
from Mars, like from more upstate New York, but I am from like
Wow.
other parts of New York. That gets kind of hick,
It gets
and that's
super hick in
all they
upstate,
listen
yeah.
to. Like in the areas where it's like I had so many
Full
friends. It's
beer,
just like
dirt
yeah, it's just
road.
the same, and it's
pickup
like really
truck.
this is the third song about fishing I heard in this car ride.
Yeah.
This channel.
Oh well, at least
So
you know.
that was just it just puts such a damper on all country for me.
Yeah.
It's tough because I like folk, I like blues, I like all that other stuff.
But yeah,
that
the
goes-
pop country can be tough. Modern pop country is tough. I agree.
It's not
Yeah.
tough. It's bad.
yeah, it's just shitty music. Like,
You
sorry.
guys
It's
notice
just
the
shitty
difference in
music.
how we express ourselves.
Yeah, you're just trying
I'm
to
a
be polite
little
about
too
it.
nice and Evan's a little too glib.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a little too
I
glib,
feel like
you
you
glib
you
in
kind
my-
of finesse things and having like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
No
And
finessing,
sometimes,
screw it.
and it depends on what you need. You know what I mean? Sometimes someone
Totally.
you get in
yeah.
there and scrub off the grit, and sometimes you need a softer touch. That's why I think you guys blend
Yeah.
really well together.
Oh yeah, we complement each other in all kinds of ways.
I bet.
That's good. Yeah.
sure.
James, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask? Want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Not really.
Because if you don't,
No,
I have.
because even a lot of like the questions that I come up with, you guys sort of just have answered along
Sure.
the way. So,
So I got
would it
one
beat me
last.
to it?
I got one last one.
Great.
I want to ask you guys what you would like to promote. What's like new with you guys? What's coming up? What should we be looking for?
So we have one song out that just came out today on Spotify. It's called Quarantine. The music video will be out in 2 days on Wednesday, the 29th. I don't know when this podcast is coming out.
It,
Sometime this
we don't
week,
know
yeah.
either. Probably a week.
Oh yeah, the music.
So on April 29th.
Yeah.
but-
No, it's probably already
Yeah.
out when you're if you're
It's
listening.
already
to this.
There's a good
guys.
chance,
Go check
yes,
out
yeah.
the quarantine music video, which we made with a bunch of our friends. Actually, while everybody was home, we had some of our friends film themselves dancing to
I
the
like that.
song, and
I love that.
our man Brandon Ward of the Bolex Boys, he cut it together for us. Did you have something you wanted to say? You were pulling on my sequins.
No, I was.
Were you just playing with my sequins?
No, I was saying I wanted to make sure we explained the concept behind the video because I'm very proud of it.
It's like, is it that? Is
Ah.
it the mushroom starting to kick in? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on over here?
Feels so good. It does look like we could be doing mushrooms in here, doesn't it?
I don't see why you're not.
We were supposed
We-
to do mushrooms on Saturday, but our dog got sick, so it was like,
Oh, bummer.
That's
Oh.
true. She's fine.
But,
She's sleeping.
Yeah. we also have 2 other songs that we recorded before this whole thing happened that are going to be
With
coming
Oliver
out.
Ignatius at Holy Fang Studios.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the first one, the one with the good vibrations, and then the other one.
It's a song called "Take Me Home." It's a very New York kind of jam.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think
The
we've
other
heard you
one
play
is a
that
song
live.
called "Looking Down," which people have been asking us to record for about 6 months.
That's the one with the airplane arms, guys. Remember the airplane arms?
Okay, so
song?
we have seen that one
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, great. So it's good.
And this stuff is all going to be put up on the Instagram account, right? The values.
Yeah,
band?
yep.
Okay. And
The best
you're
place to probably find information about us
Yeah.
is our Instagram account, I would say,
Yeah.
at the Values Band.
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
we'll link for
all
you
right.
guys. Of course.
We'll tell everybody to go there. All right. So we're at like 90 minutes. That's about the length of what we do.
Great.
Cool.
So why don't we all? I'm going to count us down on a stop the recording. But before we do, I want to thank you guys again for coming and talking with us.
Seriously.
And
Thanks
you,
for spending
guys.
your time with us.
We
And-
got to do this
and-
again in a few months.
It was
and-
really good talking to
yeah,
you.
and so
Hopefully we can do this in person soon.
Yeah.
even better. All right. So listen, we're going to count this down to 3, 2, 1. Stop.